It's time to join the It's time to join the family at the People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. We offer savings accounts, deposits, fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook. And you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Captain's Corner. I am Winston Henry, sitting in for Sister Sean Nicholas. I have the captain with me this evening, as this is Captain's Corner, the political leader, Brother Harold Lovell. And we'll be having a frank conversation this evening on a number of topics. And we will invite you to continue to participate as you listen to us and you listen to the captain himself as he provides solid explanation and plans as the UPP gets set to take governance in Antigua and Barbuda. So without any further ado, let me welcome the captain to the Captain's Corner. Good evening, Brother Lovell.
Very good, very good. Happy to be here with you, and let's get going.
Yes, I know I was at home today, Brother Lovell, and when the news came about the passing of the Queen, and I know you would have a few words that you may want to share where that is concerned, but take us away.
Well, I would offer condolences to all the members of the royal family, to the Governor General of Antigua and Barbuda, and to note that the Queen is the head of state of Antigua and Barbuda, and therefore head of state for all of us. So in that respect, I think it is appropriate that we mark the passing of our head of state in the proper way by expressing condolences, and to note that it marks the end of an era. Certainly at the time of my birth, she was the Queen, and even at this stage in my life, she's still the Queen, so we've known no other monarch. And so to that extent, let us mark this as an historic occasion and the end of an era.
Yeah, and when I left home just moments ago, there was still an outpouring of support and sympathy, both at her residence and also at the Buckingham Palace itself. So, I mean, I think she was loved by many, and I think the world would have lost a true patriarch of democracy. But I also want to get into, I know the CSEC and the CXC results came out as well, and I'm made to understand that you have the top student in your constituency.
Yes, I want to extend congratulations to Mr. Okuloban. I know his mother very well, Juliet. I know the entire family. They're from St. John City East constituency. His mother is a teacher, and this clearly is a remarkable achievement. So I want to really extend to the entire family my heartiest congratulations. And I know this comes at great sacrifice on the part of the family. I can speak from my own experience, knowing them, that it has not been an easy road. And so I just want to say to the entire family, this is indeed a fitting reward for the great sacrifices that I know the family has made in the interest of the education of this young man and the entire family, I'm sure, must be feeling very, very proud. So, big up and congratulations.
21 ones.
No. Yeah,
21 ones and two
twos.
Two twos. That is a remarkable feat for any person to achieve. So I would also like to extend hearty congratulations to the young man and the family. Whatever you are doing in City East and whatever City East
No, I can't
is
claim
doing,
any credit.
whatever City East is doing, I must say that job well done, and also kudos to the school, St. Joseph's Academy.
I was about to say that. Kudos to the principal.
Yes, Brother Rudolph Davis.
I can see him right now saying, Netimias. Well done, Brother Rudolph. Done a great job, and to the school and to all the young people, because yes, he may have been the top student, but I also want to extend congratulations to Sister Pearl Quinn. Her daughter passed 17 subjects,
wow,
getting 17 ones.
Wow.
So, it's just a totally new era with these students, and completely different set of priorities, and they're achieving great results. So let's celebrate for all our young people, and to say to them, keep on keeping on, whatever they choose in life to do, we wish them all success. So to all those who participated in those exams, who took those exams, how many ever you got, we want to say we're proud of you, and we want to encourage you to keep on in a steadfast way, knowing that education in our society is really the key to success. So stay focused and keep on reaching for the stars.
This is just on the point of education. I know it's not one of the topics that we wanted to really focus on this evening, but during the UPP tenure, we would have, and you would have been very instrumental in allowing a number of young persons to achieve tertiary level education to scholarships, and also reaching out to other countries to allow our young people to study in the respective countries and gain a wealth of experience. I mean, under UPP administration again, and as the Prime Minister, would this be something that you would definitely be pushing for heavily again?
No, one cannot underestimate the importance of education at all levels. We intend to put emphasis on preschool education. That's very important. It's very important that you establish a solid foundation, and studies have shown that children who are exposed to preschool education, they tend to do better when they get into primary school. It's less of a struggle. But we also want to establish at the primary level and at the secondary level the solid foundations that you would need as a student in order to go further and to excel. And as you rightly say, we want to be able to ensure that those of our students who are capable of achieving those higher heights in terms of academic study, that we give them those opportunities. Of course, our idea is that we also want to bring to the table other exit strategies, but that's for a different discussion. So that whilst we will place emphasis on academic studies, it's also very important that we recognize that vocational studies will also be very important and will be treated as a priority area in a new UPP administration.
Let me shift gear a little bit, Mr. Political Leader, and let me talk about oil price. And much has been said and much continues to be said in relation to oil price. And I had an opportunity to do some research in terms of what prices are at present. The WTI crude, that's coming out from the US market, today as of 2 p.m. this afternoon was at about $83 a barrel. The Brent crude, I think that's the European market, is coming in at about $88.90 a barrel. The Murban crude is coming in at about $89.08 a barrel. A barrel of oil in August of 2014 was $102 US per barrel. Price at the pump was just about a little over $13. Was the government at the time, Mr. Political Leader Harold, subsidizing fuel in August of 2014 under the United Progressive Party?
I can't remember how much we were pulling in consumption tax at that time, but with a pricing structure, as you just mentioned, we probably would be taking in just over $1.50 on each gallon. Now, the price that we all agreed upon was a little bit more than that, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But the point is, the current price that we are seeing at the pump is just too high in relation to the price on the world market, as you outlined.
Yeah, the Prime Minister reduced, well, the announcement that you're going to reduce the gallon by $1. Are you satisfied that the reduction is adequate given the price of crude oil today?
No, not at all. The price of crude oil today, as you said, in most cases is below $90 on the international market. And where the price is below $90, there can be no justification. And I just want to commend Dr. George Daniel for a very informative program on Progressive Radio this morning, where he was able to give the price build-up and to show that the government on gasoline today is making $3.67 on the gallon. Now, bear in mind that we have more cars on the road today than we had 5 years ago. We have more people, therefore, buying gasoline. And for the government to continue to keep the price at this rate, remember, when the price on the world market for oil was very low, they were pulling in $7 and $8 on a gallon. Now they're pulling in $3.67 on the gallon. We agreed at the Monetary Council that the price in terms of taxes would be set so that the taxes that we would get would be between $2.50 a gallon or high of $3 per gallon. So between $2.50 and $3. Now, even at this time, they're taking $3.67. So there is room they could take at least another dollar off of that off of that price and give the people of Antigua and Barbuda an opportunity to feel that little relief, because it is having a tremendous impact on the pockets of people. I'm seeing people generally cut back on so many other things because of the price of gasoline. Because people are paying more for gasoline, they're spending less on many things. And the things that they're spending less on, it's having a very, very damaging impact on the economy. Because a lot of the small shops that sell patties, that sell sandwiches, that are trying to make a living in terms of hustling some food and stuff like that, that's where people are cutting back. And that's where they're feeling a double whammy with the price of the gasoline, where they have to drive, and so they're spending more on gasoline, therefore less on other things. And at the same time, the things they have to buy in terms of the ingredients for the foods that they produce, they're also feeling a heavy impact, because the government has not sought to do anything to ease that impact and ease that squeeze.
And just your last answer is exactly where I wanted to carry the conversation where this is concerned, in terms of the impact of fuel on the economy of Antigua and Barbuda. It impacts transportation, it impacts fuel variation, it impacts electricity, it impacts cost of living. How would you address that as the Prime Minister in waiting?
We have advocated for an adjustment in the taxes that are applied. And so, for example, where the government today is getting $3.67, there's a lot of room there for them to reduce that. Even if they wanted to bring it down to $2.50, they could easily give the people of Antigua and Barbuda at least another dollar on the pump in order to make it a little bit more palatable. It should go lower if they really wanted to adjust it so that the people would be in a better position, so that they would save more and be able to buy more on essential items and to keep the economy moving. But they're not doing that, and so it's having a negative impact on the economy. We would address it the way we said we would address so many other things. For example, the retail prices in the stores, those are going up on a daily basis. We've said what we would do. And I just want to say that today there's a cabinet note that came out speaking to flour, saying that the government removed all taxes on flour. No, I don't know if they did it today, but I'm calling on the government to explain to the people when they removed all of those taxes. Because up until a few weeks ago, in fact, just 2 or 3 weeks ago, the tariff on flour, I think was something like, I think, don't quote me here, but it was something like 35%, either 35 or 40%. And on RRC, it was 10%. Now, flour has always been free of ABST. So if they're saying that there's no ABST on flour, that's nothing new. That's something that was done when I was Minister of Finance. And so there's never been a situation where we applied ABST to flour. However, if they're saying that that is their achievement, they need to come again, because just saying that it's ABST, we're saying that we would remove the duty. That's what we were calling for. Several weeks ago, I made the call that we need to remove the duty on flour, and they need to come and tell us whether duty on flour has been removed. If they've done so, we welcome it, because we called for it. So if they've done so, we welcome it, because of course, given the rising prices of everything, we said remove the duty on flour so that the people who make a living by baking bread, they would be paying less for the flour, and therefore they wouldn't be feeling so much pressure when they have to sell the bread. Sometimes they have to cut down the size of the bread in order to sell the same 50 cents bread or 250 bread or whatever it is to make it work. Because I notice sometimes when I go to the shop, I would normally buy a 250 bread, and the 250 bread just seems to be getting smaller and smaller. But I understand, because the price is going higher and higher. So if you keep the bread at the same size, then it means that the bread shop may soon have to close, because it's just too tough. So I am not aware that they have removed the duty on flour. If they have, we welcome it. But the statement that they put out today, making it seem as though the duty is not there, I want them to clarify that, because the last time I checked, you're still paying the duty on flour, but you don't pay ABST on flour. And the ABST on flour was removed since the UPP was in office. They haven't done anything.
I was reading a BBC story just this week, with the whole issue, the same topic that you raised, with a bakery, a family bakery in the rural West constituency that is likely to go out of business because of the high cost of doing business in Antigua at this point in time. So that underpins the point that you're making, that the cost is so high now that they're putting the businesses at tremendous risk and at risk of closing. So that is definitely something that I'm sure that you, as the incoming Prime Minister, would definitely require to address.
No, absolutely. That all adds up to what you call the cost of living. Things like bread, I think apart from maybe a few households, just about every household in Antigua consumes some kind of bread, whether it be wheat bread or white bread. Most people eat bread.
Yeah. The whole mechanism in terms of the fuel, you would have mentioned at some point in time that a UPP administration would look at new markets in terms of buying fuel from exploring other markets. Would you care to say a little bit more on that?
Well, what we said that we would do is that we would explore new relations and new arrangements with Venezuela. Guyana is coming on stream, and obviously we would want to have some sort of either bilateral arrangement, meaning one-on-one with Guyana, or something through some sort of CARICOM mechanism, and also with Trinidad. So these are areas that we would definitely explore as a government, because we would try to make certain that we give to the people of this country the best options in order to get the best prices so that we can keep the cost of living as low as possible.
Would your administration implement the pass-through mechanism?
Well, yes. I mean, we actually did implement the pass-through mechanism, but when you implement the pass-through mechanism, you also have to put a cap. And by that I mean, you see, the pass-through mechanism is such is that when the price on the world market is low, then you carry the price down because you keep your taxes at $2.50 to $3 on the gallon. So when the price goes down, you don't let the price at the pump stay so high that the government will be picking up $7 and $8 in taxes. That's really not fair. It's not right. It really punishes people. What you need to do is reduce your tax intake. So in reducing your tax intake, you would allow the price to go down so that when the price on the world market is low, at the pump it's also low because you're taking less tax. Now, when the price goes up, you also have to be very mindful because you don't want a situation where the price goes up. For example, when the price went above $150 a gallon, a barrel on the world market, we did not carry the price above, I think it was $16 at the time. We had to put a cap, or else it would have gone to $18 or $20, which would not have been sustainable and which would have put too much pressure on the people. And in putting that pressure, we would be experiencing exactly what we're talking about now, because people would be spending so much on the necessity of driving their car to work, to carry their children to school and that type of thing, that they would have to cut back on other essential items, and in doing so, you would be having a negative impact on the economy because there would be less spending in the barber shop, the rum shop, the supermarket, the corner shop, all the various places where people spend money. They'll be spending less because the price that you're paying for gasoline will be so high that that's literally taking all your money.
The UPP just implemented an initiative called the Small Business Pull-Up. And I think you would have had the third episode of that where you go through the different Could you explain again to the folks, those who might have missed it, what exactly is the Small Business Pull-Up and what sort of an impact would it have at the community level?
Well, this is a novel idea. It's another innovation by the United Progressive Party. First time in Antigua something like this is being done. And it is focusing attention on small business enterprises, which is very important. So one, it is intended to give visibility, publicity, and to give the nation of Antigua and Barbuda a view of some of the small enterprises that are out there catering to the needs of our people, mainly in food, drink, and that type of thing. And so on this Saturday coming up, we'll be going into the St. John's Rural South constituency. But last week, we were in All Saints West. The week before that, we were in St. George. And the week before that, we were in All Saints East and St. Luke. They've all been very successful. We patronize these shops. Everybody, Saturday is a time you get your fried fish, goat water, seasoned rice, all of these things. So we go around and we patronize. You buy a few drinks. Those who drink a little strong, you buy a beer. Those who keep it soft, you buy a few malts and local drinks. And it's a good atmosphere. So what you do, you bring attention to the importance of small businesses and you give them some publicity. Some people said, oh, I didn't even know that place existed. I must try it. Some others who would taste the food, whatever it is, they say, I have to come back next week and sample this excellent fried fish, that type of thing. So it's a great opportunity also for us to meet and to listen to what people have to say. Listen to what the problems are. And that's why we are so acutely aware of some of the problems that the small businesses are facing in terms of cost. Because almost everywhere you go, I mean, if it's the fried fish, everybody's talking to you about the cost of cooking oil, to make the dumpling, the same flour, the issues regarding the price of meat. Chicken has gone up tremendously. Price of pork has gone up tremendously. So whether the stew pork, the jerk pork, the stew chicken, the fried chicken, whatever it is, all of these, the people who are producing these things for us to consume, they're all complaining the price is really hitting them. And that's why we are so committed to taking measures which will address these prices so that, you know, people can make a dollar. And this sufferation that you hear out there is really, really heartrending when you listen to the cry of the people right now. It's tough.
I must say that I was there on Saturday in the All Saints West constituency. And I have to confess, we really do have some really, really good cooks in Antigua. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say what I had that I really, really enjoyed.
as a good Adventist.
what I would say that I truly enjoy the camaraderie, I enjoy the atmosphere, I enjoy the fact that you interact with the small businesses, they can tell you what the challenges that they're facing, and you know, I've always been a very fierce advocate of small business and small business development, and I think this particular initiative would go a long, long way. But what I wanted to ask you, is this something that you will be open to continuing after getting into office as the Prime Minister?
We are always innovating. So I wouldn't say we'll keep this, but we could do something that is perhaps more extensive, something that, you know, we haven't yet thought of. But the point of supporting small business, that will never change. It may take different forms, but we are convinced that our small business people, medium-sized enterprises, these are what we will drive the economy with. But you have to facilitate them. You have to give them the type of incentives to make them expand. I'm hoping that, you know, one day we'll be seeing bakeries from Antigua selling bread in Montserrat, Dominica, Grenada, you know, opening outlets in these places, expanding, because in Antigua we'll give them the type of push that allows them to really expand. Another area is the area of local confectionaries. You know, the slice up and the fudge and the sugar cake and all these things. You know, all of those things are still produced at a very, very small cottage level, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we need to now help those producers to become bigger. So if right now it's a one-person operation, we'd like to see that become 3 or 4 people. Expand so that you can be bringing more and more people into the business cycle. I mean, I can speak of one young lady, for example, in the constituency of St. John City East. Her name is Koro Ann, and she makes some amazing candies, the local candies, you know, the sugar cake, the fudge, and all of these things. But everything is at a very small level, still struggling. I look forward to the day when a UPP administration could say to Koro Ann, hey, we are going to provide you with the type of assistance that you will be able, in a very short period, to increase your production. We'll help you with the marketing so that we move from the very small to become a medium-sized enterprise where we can begin to package these things, sell them to the Antiguan community up in New York, the Antiguan community over in London, in Leicester, send them down to Trinidad, just like the Trinidadians. I think they're the ones who brought the tamarind balls to Antigua. I'm not sure. But you know, tamarind balls are now things that we have in Antigua. But we need to really go to the next level where we begin to assist our small producers with the packaging, with the marketing, with the distribution, finding new markets for them, and bringing prosperity and pride to our young entrepreneurs in that sense. And these are the types of ideas that we must project and promote so that our small enterprises, our micro enterprises can look forward to becoming medium-sized enterprises and even larger by bringing the brands, you know, branding and marketing, all of these things, modern business practices. These are things that a progressive government will be doing to make sure that our business people, the small ones, we give them a real leg up and help them to become prosperous business people.
I had an opportunity the last few weeks. I was in Trinidad, and just what you're speaking about in terms of that micro, that small business sector, in terms of doing the tambourine ball, the mango, and these kind of things, they are very, very big into that. And just about at every street corner, you see their branding, you see them, they're selling, and that's a huge industry in Trinidad. But just getting into, now we looked at the small business, in the larger business. Antigua and Barbuda Investment Authority, it was established to focus primarily on providing a level playing field. Are you happy with its role today, or how it is performing in the market today?
No, the Investment Authority will become a central part of our investment platform. The issue of a level playing field, that's very important, but we're going to make sure that we promote local businesses. I have a friend within the business community, and he had a conversation with me several months ago up at the airport, and he showed me that, even though through the Investment Authority, and we spoke of a level playing field, his argument was the level playing field whereby the bigger the investment, the more the concessions. That's how it works. He felt that that was a practice that did not favor the local business people. And I could see some of what he was saying. And I have given a commitment to him that when we speak of leveling the playing field, it cannot just be a case where if you invest, say, 200 million, you get this basket of concessions. But if you only invest 1 million, then the basket of concessions will be much less. Now, we have to look to see the smaller investors who may only be able to bring 1 million or 2 million in terms of what they're able to borrow or what they're able to put together. They need more help because they're small, and we need to make sure that we give them more incentives, we give them more concessions, because they need that assistance to really get to the next level. And so we're going to review that whole policy so that, yes, there will be some correlation between the size of the investment and the amount of concessions, or the number of concessions that you get and the incentive package that you get. But the focus has to be on making sure that we give local businesses an opportunity to really propel themselves and to move to the next level. And then when it comes to the development of small businesses, the Investment Authority has a small business development unit. We want to expand that. We want to give the small business development unit more resources in terms of people and in terms of actual funding, so that the sort of ideas I mentioned to you earlier, let's take a fresh look, at the confectionery sector, the sector that, the sweetie sector, so to speak, then. That's how all of when you see all these big chocolate manufacturers and the candy manufacturers coming out of England and the United States and so on, all of these started as small businesses. And then they got the sort of help that allowed them to propel themselves. Like things like packaging. You don't have to have crude packaging. We can get this sort of machinery, get this sort of assistance with regard to how you package these things, how you do wrappers and so on. Everything is marketed. You look at the way the Chinese do things. Now, the way the Chinese will sell you something, for example, I've had gifts coming from the Chinese from time to time, when they give you something. Now, if they're going to give you, like right now, they have some sort, I can't remember the name of the cake, but they have a special cake that is very popular at this time of the year for them. And when they package that, the packaging is actually something that you want to keep for life, and it can be reused for so many other things. Packaging is very important, and that's something that we'll have to look at very seriously, how we package things, how we market things, make them really attractive, so that people, to get people to really want to buy them and to consume them.
Well, we're getting definitely into the heart of our conversation as we continue to look at the issues that are affecting Antigua and Barbuda and the plans for the United Progressive Party during the next administration and taking power in Antigua and Barbuda. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to look at the whole issue of international and regional investment. We'll be right back with Captain's Corner.
At the People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited, we offer savings accounts, deposits, fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook. And you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.
Welcome back to Captain's Corner. I'm your host, Winston Henry, and I'm here with the captain himself, the political leader of the United Progressive Party, Harold Lovell. When we took the break, we were talking about the small business and the issue of how small business is important in the economy of Antigua and Barbuda. And we're going to continue on that particular trend, but we're going to talk about regional and international investment to improve the economy of Antigua and Barbuda. Mr. Political Leader, you recently went on a you were a speaker at an investment event. Could you talk a little bit about that for those who did not hear at the time?
Right. Well, it was the Caribbean Investment Summit, and the summit brought together a number of persons who want to invest in the Caribbean, and also we heard about some of the measures and some of the legislation coming out of the United States, which will be used to promote investment in Latin America and the Caribbean. So we would want to be very much in the front row in terms of taking advantage of some of those new opportunities in manufacturing and other sectors. Now, we understand, for example, if we talk about manufacturing, that we have to go for niche manufacturing, specialized manufacturing. We will not be able to compete, for example, with making cheap garments made of, say, cheap cotton, because our minimum wage in US dollars is, I think, $3.80 US cents per hour, whereas in China, it's 50 US cents per hour. Now, that being the case, it's going to be very difficult to compete with China, Bangladesh, Vietnam, and some of these places, because their labor costs are so cheap that even when you factor in the transportation costs, it still will not make us sufficiently competitive. And that's why you've heard me speak about, and that's why we believe, and when I went to the investment conference, I was able to really develop this idea with a number of persons who have some knowledge of the sector, and they say that we are right on the money as far as that is concerned. We want to develop what you call a vertically integrated cotton industry. Vertically integrated because at the bottom you have the raw cotton. In fact, I was speaking to a young man, Kemoy Thomas, and that's when I realized that he's the person who has done a lot of the cotton in Antigua. And he says he is ready to go. He can teach it. All the government has to do is to make sure that we set aside the land so that we can really get back into cotton production. But you see, we have to move to the next stage. We have to now move to what you call the value-added stage. If it's just a case where we're going to just be growing cotton, picking cotton, sending to Japan, then that's where we were 300-400 years ago.
Yes.
We now have to go to the next level, and this is happening in so many other areas, like whether it be cocoa production. You see a lot of countries now, they move from the raw cocoa, where they used to just send everything to England. They're now adding value to that and creating the finished product. That's what we have to look to do. So you have the raw cotton, but instead of just sending the raw cotton overseas as though we don't have the capacity to go further, we now have to look to see how we can make the fabric, make the yarn out of the cotton. So that's where we're going to need some technical expertise, and that technical expertise is available. Then, having done the cotton yarn, we then look for a major international brand. We had spoken, Wilma Daniel and myself, leading up to the 2018 elections, we had spoken to some brand names coming out of Italy, because that's what we have to do. You have to find like a big brand name that is going to partner with us, so that the fabrics that we manufacture will then we then go on to do high quality, whether it be skirts, shirts, blouses, and so on, with a major brand attached to them. And that's what you'll see. In St. Lucia several months ago, I was there, and I went into this shop. It's called the Sea Island Shop, Sea Island Cotton Shop. I'm saying, wow, a Sea Island Cotton Shop. When you look, you see the fine garments, because Sea Island cotton is one of the finest cottons you find anywhere in the world. It's like Egyptian cotton. It's right up there. In fact, they call it the cashmere of cotton. That's where you're going to make the money. And that is the vision that we have to try to embrace, so that we don't just see ourselves as primary producers. We have to begin to see ourselves as taking the nation to the next level in terms of real industrialization. But it's sustainable, because we would be growing the raw material right here, but applying technology and expertise to that and taking it to the highest possible level. I say it will be a glorious day in Antigua when we would be able to see one of the fine garments somewhere on the red carpet in one of the big capitals, knowing that that came from Antigua. That is the type of vision that we must embrace. See ourselves as going to that type of development, not just talking about economic powerhouse and so on, but having a clear plan and vision as to how we're going to really develop niche industries, specialized industries, areas where we have a competitive advantage that we can take advantage of. And so that's cotton. We've spoken about that. We also want to go into wellness tourism in a big way. Yes, we have the usual resorts, and that's very important, but we have to aim at that market where wellness is becoming a major trend, popular trend internationally. And so we have to get into that and see where we can position ourselves. Wellness tourism, allied also to a form of medical tourism, where we're able to offer medical services and the opportunities to recuperate in a good climate, good temperature, all these types of things. These are advantages that we have that we need to find ways to monetize, so that we can provide a good living for our people. So wellness tourism, the cotton I spoke about, and then in terms of agribusiness, again, you can imagine the pineapple is still on our coat of arms. We still proclaim and we say that the pineapple is the sweetest in the world, the Antigua black pineapple. But what are we really doing? What have we really done in terms of putting real resources into developing our pineapple industry and making it globally competitive so that everybody's talking about it? These are things that we have to look at, and of course we have to then look to see how we're going to incentivize the production of agro-processing, turning some of the things that we have into juices and so on, and putting big good incentives to make sure that we propel these types of things into the forefront. We can do it, and at the conference that I attended in Barbados, There are people out there who are willing to help us. They just want to know that we are serious, that we have a plan, we are willing to work hard, and people will come and help us. I got a lot of commitments from persons. I was very interested, for example, in what they have done in Israel. They turned a very barren desert area into a fertile, agriculturally productive nation. These are things we can learn. I mean, we don't have to get involved in the ideological issues. What we are interested in is the technological assistance and building realistic partnerships with nations all over the world. Once we can see where these can help our country, we will be there to work with whomever so that we will be able to take advantage of these great opportunities that will come our way in agribusiness, in water management, and the other things that I mentioned. So they're great ideas that are right there for us to execute once we're given the opportunity.
I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, and I'm feeling very excited in terms of the plans and the policy that you are outlining in terms to move the economy of Antigua and Barbuda to the next level. And I can also see the Investment Authority reshaping some of its role and its function, because what you're talking about is to changing the dynamics of how we look at investment in Antigua and Barbuda. Because traditionally we talk about, we're looking for big investors to bring in a hotel to build something, but what you're talking about is developing the small industry and moving from not just the raw material to export it, but to also look at the raw material to do a finished product here,
right,
which will open up new opportunities, new avenues for us here in Antigua and Barbuda. Right. So the role of the Investment Authority, given the model that you're outlining, would change significantly, would it not?
Of course, and even the cotton I was speaking about, you see there's so many spin-offs. The sector that deals with style and fashion and so on, a lot of the young people are into that. You find that now Antigua becomes a place that people associate with style and accomplishment and finesse, and we rebrand our nation in a way that we feel really proud and really, really good. Those are some of the spin-offs in terms of the fashion industry. Of course, we'll need the accountants, we'll need the people who will be taking care of the machinery, we will need the people who will be cutting the garments, the dressmakers and the tailors and so on. Everybody's going to get involved. So that in itself, because when you mix the cotton with other things, you're going to find that it create a platform for us to take off. But I'm not going to say that we are not going to seek investment in the normal way also. I'm saying that we're going to have to diversify. Diversify doesn't mean you kill what you have. It means that you expand and extend what you have. And so what we'll be talking about is, yes, we do need to bring in big investment where the capital required for that investment may be beyond the means of local people, but what we'll be trying to do as much as possible is to build partnerships. That's what we really want to do. We want to build partnerships, and we want to encourage the Antiguan business people to get into more partnerships, build corporations, build companies, so that there's continuity. You've heard me speak about there are too many Antiguan businesses that were in existence 20 and 30 years ago, which are just not there anymore. And any serious progressive government, we must address that. And we must encourage our business people to form proper corporate structures and business partnerships for continuity, so that we can make sure that a business that starts up now or started up 5-10 years ago, in 50 years' time, it's still there. Because we would have helped those businesses to put structures in place, and we would have put laws in place that seek to motivate people to do that type of thing. These are the ways that we have to focus our energies and focus our vision with respect to creating a new Antigua built on a solid economic foundation, so that we're not always just running around the place, just begging people, you come, and just hoping that something will happen. That's why we have 26 failed projects for this Labour Party administration. There's no clear structure, no clear plan. I heard Mr. Max Fernandez on the radio this morning, and I had to laugh. He blaming everything on COVID. Everything is COVID, you know. COVID is the new excuse for everything. You know, you shoot too tight, COVID. You know, everything is COVID. I mean, the failures, go back to 2014. Go back to 2014. It's 2014 when they came in and they told us about YIDA. Where's YIDA? Just another big promise, an area of our country that we named the Northeast Marine Management Area, which was supposed to be developed as a pristine area. And we would hope that that is something that would have been pursued. We were doing our due diligence on YIDA when the government changed, and whilst we were in office, they went and signed an agreement with the Labour Party, but we were not satisfied at the time that they could deliver, and we were not wrong. But what has happened there is just not the sort of development model we need to provide for this country. We need to know what we want and then get people to do what we want, not the other way around. People come and tell us what they think we should want. That model of development has not worked for us, and yes, we will want to have the lovely resorts, because Antigua is still very much a beach destination. So you want to put good resorts that can employ 200-300 people at a time to absorb the labor capacity in our country. But we cannot limit it to that type of vision that we've had in the past. We now need to diversify in the way that I've been saying.
Yeah. And I'm glad you touched the issue of the labor, because the Antigua Labour Party is now making a lot of noise, saying that the jobs program that and letting persons, giving the impression that if the government change, or when the government change, you're going to just fire everybody in the jobs program and put them out to pasture. So they're trying to use that now as an election ploy. Could you address that to some extent, to calm the fears of persons?
No, the jobs program is something that we would look at as a genuine training program and have persons come into real jobs once they have completed the period of training. It cannot be a case where somebody's on a job program for 5 and 6 years. That is a testament of failure. The government has failed to do the things that I was talking about, develop a vibrant local private sector where people can become successful entrepreneurs and where people can get jobs in the private sector, because you have an economy that has been stimulated and incentivized by creative and progressive government policies. When you have that, then persons don't need to worry. The job program as it is now is nothing for the government to feel proud about. The job program is paying people some real basic minimum wage type salaries that they shouldn't feel proud about that. We want to improve that, but we're not going to be sending home people. What we'll be doing once a UPP administration is elected, yes, we will have to keep the persons who are employed there, but we'll keep them employed, but we will make everybody understand that better days are ahead. Once we start to transform and diversify the economy and to create real jobs that can pay you good money, then it's a different ballgame altogether. We won't have to tell people anything about the job program. Soon the job program will be looking for people, because people will be going into other sectors where they will be making more money on the better conditions, and there won't be any need to be putting people on the job program the way they are doing now, because all that they're doing now is creating a situation where they haven't been able to create a vibrant private sector. So they now have persons coming onto the job program just so that they can hope that they get re-elected. But I want to explain to everyone that this is only a temporary fix that they are providing. And this is no way to run a country, and you cannot build a new life, You can't build a proper home. You can't drive a nice car. You can't send your children to school properly. You don't have to be scrunting like that, because the job program as it is now is not really the answer and the solution to making lives better. The UPP has a plan to make people's lives better. So yes, of course, everybody who's on the job program, we're not going to send home people from the job program, but we're going to create opportunities so that over a period of time, there won't be any need to be on the job program, because you'll be in a good job that pays you well, so that you can relax on your gallery, you can turn your car key, drive down the road, and feel like a real man and a real woman.
Mr. Political Leader, we're here again, another missed deadline by the Antigua Labour Party with this water crisis and this water issue, making another promise, missing another deadline, and the crisis continues in Antigua and Barbuda, where persons are turning on their faucets, turning on their showers, and no water. A real crisis and a real challenge. Are you satisfied that the necessary resources are being put to address this national crisis?
Well, at this late stage, I mean, they're throwing everything they can into water. But they're doing, as I'm sure you've heard me say, they're trying to do in 8 weeks what they failed to do in 8 years. What they have done is fail. They have failed the people. They have failed the people. And I want to just restate once again, they dropped the ball. You have a minister of water, APOA, who doesn't know what he's doing. He has not really attended to the issues. I mean, they were making a big song and dance when they bought the Sembcorp plant, desalination plant up at Crabs. When they bought it, and let us not forget, when they bought it, that plant was producing 4.5 million gallons of water per day. 4.5 million gallons of water per day. And that's what was happening when the UPP was in office. 4.5 million. And early this year, when I blew the whistle and I called them out, the plant was producing 2.1 million gallons a day. They jumped up and say, oh, it's lie, nothing goes so. They called in the water manager. They asked the water manager if what I say is lie. He said, no, it wasn't a lie, it was the truth. And from then, and that was around March, April, I believe, all of a sudden, you heard them. They're ordering filters, they're ordering all the different parts for the reverse osmosis plant. They're getting so busy, but then it was too late.
But did they buy the Sembcorp, or was it a boot kind of arrangement?
Whatever arrangement it was, they acquired the plant.
Okay. It was turned over to the government.
It was turned over to them. And it's such a sad thing that you're blowing your horn and saying how clever and how good you are to have acquired this plant. And by the time you run it for 3-4 years, you're producing half what you bought it for. I mean, it shows that you're a failure. And you didn't even know what was happening, because it's only when I called them out that they started to hustle. But because now of the COVID and the supply chain blockages and so on, it's very difficult. You have boats lining up, and of course, since the war in Ukraine, you've had even more supply chain problems. So by the time they got on the case and started to try to do anything, here they're making excuses. Boat stuck in Dubai, boat stuck in Martinique, boat can't make it here. They missed the boat. That's really the problem. They missed the boat. And it is not good enough, and the people must make it clear to them that they're not satisfied with their performance. They took 8 years and failed to solve this problem. And now they're trying to rush, and like they don't even know whether they're going east or west. In fact, when I look at them, they remind me of a boxing match at a time I was watching on TV. And this man gets so much a blow, right? So much thump in the face, that he's supposed to go in the blue corner, and he got in the red corner, the other way around. So I think it's something similar to that, where they don't know what they're doing. They're punch drunk. They're just staggering from left to right. Then they told us we're going to get 2 million How much? 2 million extra gallons. I'm sure you saw the meme where on Labor Day, the Prime Minister, Gaston Brown, telling the people, oh, we're going to get in 3 weeks 2 more million gallons of water, 2 more million. You say any 2 million gallons? I've been asking around if anybody has felt this 2 million gallons. The water problem has not been fixed. And that's really the problem with this administration. Then they want to call the election after they fix the water. But they are not trying to fix water to serve people. They're trying to fix water for the election. It's election water. And that's how they have run this country, whereby they don't care about people. They don't care about people. They weren't worried that people were not getting water because some of their friends were making good money trucking water. They have their own facilities at home. They have their pumps, so when water is off, the cistern will kick in, so they're comfortable. But for the ordinary average man and woman in Antigua, it's a living hell with this water situation. I mean, 3-4 days in Upper Fort Road. Sometimes a week will pass over in Bishopgate Street, over Church Lane. These are places where people go sometimes 5-6 days. I have a teacher on Bishopgate Street. He called me just about 3 weeks ago. In tears, he's crying. He had to go by his mother in a totally different part of the country just to take a shower so he can go and teach people children. That's not right. And 8 years they had to fix it. And now they're rushing to fix it because they believe that to fix the water, that will help them to get re-elected. And I'm calling on the people of Antigua and Barbuda to reject the Antigua Labour Party. Reject the Antigua Labour Party. They have failed to solve the water problem after 8 years. Now they're hustling, trying to fix it at the last minute to try to fool people. Don't be fooled, my good people. Don't be fooled. They're a bunch of failures. They don't care about people. They just care about themselves and hoping that they will get re-elected by hustling this water situation, making a lot of mistakes. And just one last thing. This plant down at Fort James, now they have brought the plant to a point where they say they're ready to go on. The workers down there have no bathroom. So all the rush they're doing, they build a place, and when you have people working there for hours and hours, and there's no place for the workers to go and do what they have to do. No bathroom facilities down there for the workers. So it only goes to show, haste make waste.
All right, we are coming very low on time, but I can't afford to not address the whole issue of the nurses and what is happening in Antigua and Barbuda today. You would have seen COVID-19, the nurses were out there, they were putting them, they were frontline workers. Even the minister got a knighthood as a result of the hard work that the nurses would have put in. Now the nurses are saying that they have not had their issues addressed in any significant way since 2018, and they're giving the board, and by extension the government, 1 month to address this particular issue, or they're going to have to take industrial action after they would have made such a sacrifice during COVID. Talk a little bit about that and give the nurses a level of assurance that a high-level administration will address their concerns.
No, that's a crying shame. That's a crying shame. If it's one group of workers in this country who should not be in this position, it's the nurses. If one set of people, oh Lord, look, I have friends who are nurses, I have cousins who are nurses, I have people who I went to school with who are nurses, and I can tell you, nurses work hard, they work under frustrating conditions. Sometimes they tell me they have to put their hand in their pocket, buy things, because they can't see their patients suffer. It's criminal what this administration is doing to the nurses. Through COVID, the nurses worked through those difficult circumstances when everybody was afraid. People afraid that they're going to die from COVID. And these nurses, without even proper personal protective equipment, if you remember, in initial stages, where they had to be using the mask for long periods when they shouldn't be using them for so long and so on. And even one nurse, as you know, died, maybe more than one, but we know of one that we heard a lot about in terms of her dedication to duty, and lost her life as a result of COVID. But all the nurses were afraid, and their families were afraid, because everybody's afraid that, you in a hospital, people up there dying from COVID, you're coming in a house, people are afraid that you bring COVID from the hospital, bring it in their house. So when you look at those circumstances, how could the nurses be anything but happy now if they had a caring government? Make them feel appreciated. Make them realize that all that you did was not in vain. And to hear nurses talk like that brings tears to your eyes, because you say it's just not right. It's just not fair. You have a prime minister who's boasting that his son is carrying home must have $20,000 or $30,000 a month. You look at them; they feel so good, they're living so good, that before 2014 election, they could hardly make it. I mean, the old black pickup that they used to drive, and then they were able to get some people and get some government contracts. So you have state insurance paying must have $20,000 or $30,000 a month in rent, all that going in the pocket. Then you have medical benefits paying to accommodate the Cuban nurses and doctors there. That's another $40,000, $50,000 in their pocket. And then in addition to that, you have what's the other one? You have another one that is right there paying rent. APUA, more
right.
rent again. So they're doing well. They don't have any care in the world what's happening to the suffering people of this country, because they're living high off of the people of Antigua and Barbuda. Because when they put the Cuban nurses and doctors to stay over at Jennings, well, no other local people have apartments to rent.
So were they not staying at Anchorage, which is owned by, which is the hotel?
They were in different places. They were in different places. But the point is, as you rightly are suggesting, there are other people who could be benefiting.
That's correct.
I mean, even if you realize that this is what was happening, you incentivize, you put it out to tender. You say this is an opportunity. You give other Antiguans and Barbudans an opportunity to make these apartment places available so that they can make something also off of this. But no, they're selfish, they're bad-minded, they're greedy, they're avaricious. They don't want to see anybody else make it in this country. You hear about heavy-duty equipment. Up to now, we talk about all kind of things, but you wouldn't address the heavy equipment issue. Because as far as they're concerned, only they alone supposed to live in this country. It's time for them to go, man. It's really time for them to go. They're like a plague on this nation. They're like a plague of locusts on this nation. And it's time for them to go.
Well, we have come to the end of a very spirited conversation with the political leader, and I have to echo the similar sentiments. Antigua and Barbuda, we have an opportunity to change the course that we're on. We have an opportunity to make a difference. We have an opportunity to make the right choice. Make the right choice, Antigua and Barbuda. It is time for change. It is time for people who care about you, care about your well-being, and care about your future to lead this country. Until next week, this is Captain's Corner. Have a good evening.
It's time to join the family at the People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. We offer savings accounts, deposits, fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook, and you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.
and you stand on a drop. Have a level, yes, we begin you up. The will come to run this place again. Come now, we cast the vote. All of St. John City East, you know when it's time to vote. Vote Lovell, vote. Authority as the best. Vote Lovell. You can see the progress. Vote Lovell. Got a lot of work to do. Lovell can pull us through. We remember Lovell when he was making his way. His friends, family, and all of his community will always be thankful and will never forget the years that he served us. We will always respect. Go Lovell, go. I hear them say, let's vote. You got vote, one vote. Go Lovell, go. You got Campbell's vote. Munga Town, let's vote. Go Lovell, go. The bill come to run this place again. Come now, we cast the vote. All of St. John City East, you know when it's time to vote. Vote Lovell, go. Authority as the best. Vote Lovell. You can see the progress. Vote Lovell. Got a lot of work to do. Lovell can pull us through. Hey, go vote, and when you vote, Lovell can keep this country afloat. Munga Town to Fort Road. All our gamblers them already know his files, his stats. We want him back. We're sure it's facts. He's proven that. His files, his stats. We want him back. We're sure it's facts. He's proven that. 21 years and you stand on a drop. Have a level, yes, we begin you up. The bill come to run this place again. Come now, we cast the vote. All of St. John City East, you know when it's time to vote. Vote Lovell, vote. Authority as the best. Vote Lovell. You can see the progress. Vote Lovell. Got a lot of work to do. Lovell can pull us through. Hey, go vote, and when you vote, Lovell can keep this country afloat. Munga Town to Fort Road. All our gamblers them already know his files, his stats. We want him back. We're sure it's facts. He's proven that. His files, his stats. We want him back. We're sure it's facts. He's proven that. 21 years and you stand on a drop. Have a level, yes, we begin you up. The bill come to run this place again. Come now, we cast the vote. All of St. John City East, you know when it's time to vote. Vote Lovell, vote. Authority as the best. Vote Lovell. You can see the progress. Vote Lovell. Got a lot of work to do. Lovell can pull us through. The bill come to run this place again. Come now, we cast the vote. All of St. John City East, you know when it's time to vote. Vote Lovell, vote. Authority as the best. Vote Lovell. You can see the progress. Vote Lovell. Got a lot of work to do. Lovell can pull us through.